Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just gonna do a bit of a random video. I just got logged into my Uber and Lyft app, and just noticed that for me to now be a rider, just to get in an Uber and Lyft, you have to wear a mask. And so you had to agree. I read the Uber requirements. They actually apparently have facial recognition for their drivers, so they have to prove like digitally that they're wearing a mask. Like, this is how the babysitting level of babysitting that's happening. And so even if we're taking an Uber or Lyft, we have to wear a mask now. And so I looks like I won't be riding an Uber and a Lyft, which for me is I don't drink very often, like very, very rare these days. With this lockdown and stuff like that, socializing has pretty much gone to zero. And so not a big issue for me, but I do use it, if I'm having like a glass of wine, even one, because I just don't want to risk, getting any kind of, drinking and driving violation or anything like that. And back when there were more drivers, it was relatively cheap, for me to get to, different parts of the town. It would usually only be about $5 to $10 per trip. And so kind of makes, that decision easy for me going forward, that I will not unfortunately be able to use either of those. And so, it's kind of a scary situation in the sense that, think of both options. Like, people genuinely think this is real, then the drivers will be, in lower volume and going forward, because they may worry that this is actually real, and then they're encountering a lot of people every day, who come from who knows what kind of medical condition, medical background, medical position. And so, that's recently I tried to order one and it just took forever. And so, maybe that is one of the jobs actually that will not return anywhere near its typical numbers. And, then they'll have to find something else to do, which is not easy, because a lot of people are driving Uber and Lyft because that's their last option. So that's kind of scary. And then, if they do, go and do it, then they're entered into this like babysitting police state, wear a mask kind of thing, as if a mask is going to like do anything, isolate two people who are in a car, for a certain number of minutes. And, you're sitting down, people have touched everything and all that kind of stuff. So it's absurd. And so this is why, again, I believe more and more, because this thing looks like it's actually real and it's not just going to kind of go away, that, this pretty much has to end, soon. Because the thing I want people to understand is that even though God has been removed and when he is allowed to be brought in, he's dumbed down and, censored of the things that he's allowed to say through the Bible. That's not what God wants from us. He doesn't want us to be stupid. This whole initiative is completely insane, in the sense that corporations don't care about people's lives. Like, just look at all of them, all the different factories that are out. I've might even have done a video on this, where some people in China are tying their kids to like the wall while they go in like an iPhone factory and for slave labor, because they can't afford daycare and that kind of thing. And there's some places, I can't remember if it was Japan or China, where they have nets because people are like just killing themselves because of the working conditions. And so and that's here in America as well. People working in very, very unclean and unsafe working conditions everywhere, and then working way too many hours for very little pay. So God doesn't want us to be stupid. And just like, to me, wearing this mask and getting in that Uber and Lyft is me like giving some element of validation to the system and sort of playing along. And, I just want people to know that's not what I'm going to do. And so even if it requires my life and ability to function in this world, I can't do that, and it's just, this is insane. Like, the governments worldwide are nowhere near close that they would care, about this kind of thing, because it's completely inconsistent with the way corporations have been acting up until this point. So anybody who believes that they all of a sudden care now, just happens that the economy was already, declining fairly rapidly. and then this thing popped up. I just want people to know God doesn't want us to be stupid and just play along with that. That doesn't make sense for the few people that can hear what I'm saying. And so if there's a workaround, for example, I went to a restaurant in the Heights for the first time in a long time recently, and they required you to wear a mask to go and order something. And so the workaround for me was the person I was with, they go in and order, and then, I paid, and then they place the order, and then they bring out the food outside where you don't have to wear a mask. And so I avoided having to wear a mask, in that kind of situation. And so if I can't do those kind of like workarounds, then, I'm pretty much relegated to like ordering food, which I hope, for me, I'm very lucky because I do that a lot anyway. And so, that's a workaround for me, because now they don't bring the food directly to my door. I have to go downstairs and pick it up, which I actually like that anyway. So people don't, come up to my apartment, and they just leave it downstairs with a concierge. And so that's fine. That's unchanged. I can still eat. But, if there's ever a situation where I'm literally required to wear a mask everywhere when I'm out in public, that's pretty much it. That's a wrap for me. I don't know how, exactly what's going to happen, but that's not going to happen, for me personally. This thing is just getting stupid. And really the real thing I want people to understand is that would be me then co-signing a government initiative that is completely insane. Like just insane, like not even anywhere near close to caring or, about anything real. And then we obviously know that corporations don't care about their employees, and then the healthcare system obviously doesn't, and all that kind of stuff. And so, I can't genuinely do that, in any kind of way. And I feel like a lot of people are in my same position without even the Bible, in their pocket. And so that's encouraging. I don't know the exact numbers, but I suspect that there are a lot, definitely thousands, who would refuse to wear a mask in public if it was required of them, just if they're just walking around and stuff like that. And so, you're allowed to go wear a mask or not wear a mask during these like staged George Floyd protests or whatever. But, you have to wear a mask, in an Uber and a Lyft and to order food and all that kind of stuff. So, this is just completely insane. And so this again, to me, points to the fact that Christ's return has to be soon, because it's getting to the point, it might even be here, where, we are forced to show allegiance to this system in a tangible way, and in this case, a visible way. And so it's not in the body, but even if it just stayed at this mask thing and never got into the mark of the beast into the body, I still wouldn't do it, with my life. And so again, I'm thankful that I think a lot of people would as well. And so, I only see this intensifying, but I think the cool thing for me now is that pretty much, again, the God of the Bible has put himself in a corner, because even if they left it the way it is right now, I wouldn't, go along with this, because the initiative is just completely retarded. It's just completely insane to require this. Again, in light of the fact that the governments worldwide don't care about, people's health or anything like that. They would make laws and regulations that require, that protect a person's health in other aspects, and then protect their jobs and their careers in other ways and all that kind of stuff. Not just Corona hits, companies can lay off whoever they want. Now these paycheck protection program goes to people. They can use the money on rent and all that kind of stuff, utilities, but not, payroll. So they've relaxed the standards after everybody's been fired. And so it's all designed just for corporations, and just to keep the money in within a small group of people, and, that kind of thing. And so if the government actually cared, they would not allow anybody to get fired, and then they would require everybody's pay to be, proportionally reduced during this tough time, from the top down, CEOs and shareholders and all that. So they would require the companies to pay from their savings until that gets depleted, salaries get shrunk proportionally, and then after that, maybe the government would have to intervene if it was a really, really bad situation, which very few people know anybody who's even affected by this. And so that's like what a normal, government would do if they actually cared, not fire everybody, force everybody to wear a mask if they ever want to, reintegrate with society, and for a virus that's dubious, at best, whether it's a real thing or not. So that's where I stand, and just it's kind of cool for me because it's like the world is kind of making decisions for me, and this is like really no better situation I'd rather be in, to just be forced to do things that go against the way I was made, and I didn't make myself. So it's kind of nice, actually. It's I really don't have any choice, at all, and so it makes whatever little bit of time I have left, very it's very comforting, really, because a person, especially with the kind of things that I teach on my channel, I'm not leaving a place that is that makes any sense, or like virtuous, or normal, or sane, or anything like that. And so again, I just think strictly by the insanity that's going on in the world right now. The God of the Bible has to be close by. And then I want all people to also know, possibly the most sinister aspect is that the truthers, who I call the truthers, they don't speak about, corporations and all that kind of stuff. They're as silent as can be. So how can that be? Well, it's because the majority of them work for the government. And so it's not a shocker why we have a lot of military people and, government people, just random people that don't talk about their personal life at all. Not that they have to go into deep things, but they're not like real people. And so everyday average people who are getting squished by this system. And so they'll talk about, just fight back, don't wear a mask, F the mask, and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know what these people do for a living. Like Brian Stavely and Karen B and Mark Sarge, all these people, like, I'm assuming they're just government assets and stuff. So, because that's insensitive too. Why aren't they talking about when you do go back without a mask, the corporations are not treating people well, even pre-COVID, with pay, working conditions, paid time off, pregnancy leaves and all that, durations and all that kind of stuff. Like in Canada, I believe for pregnancy, a woman is required to have, I think, 6 months, and then even the husband is given a certain amount around the birth of the child, a month or two maybe. It's a required, and so don't quote me on those numbers, but it's a significant number. Here it's like, who knows? Like they probably give the woman like a couple weeks before and a week after, and then she's back at it. And so this is, again, a beast system, so it's not funny. But where's people lobbying for that? And so again, I want people to understand that there's a huge presence, obviously, of government agents, in the ball earth and all that kind of stuff, but also in the truth community, because people are essentially lobbying and chilling for this beast system, indirectly or directly. And so the fact that these things are not being talked about, which is just obvious, that it would, means that the system is evil on both sides, the truth community and the non-truth community, and this thing's not going to get better. And so I'm sure people already kind of get a vibe from my channel that things are not looking good, but it's not looking good for us as a collective group, but it's looking very, very good for the Bible. The Bible is, if it were like a stock, it'd be worth investing in, and obviously this is a spiritual investment. Wow, because if potentially millions, and I'm not even exaggerating, billions of people are to the point where they're not able to live, really have no future beyond like a few months, where does that put us? Whatever God is out there that claims to have made all of this and cares about, people, where is that God? And so that's the amazing thing about the times that we live in now, is that every day it looks like our ability to be a normal person, be a compassionate person, a faithful person, to make an honest living, all this just being removed, every single day, and being replaced with absurd requirements. And the truth community is largely governed by atheists. And so, this is the world that we live in. And so either the world is just run by atheists, and then they're just going to kind of beat us all, and then they'll raise a raise a glass of champagne to one another at the end of it, or this is to make us uncomfortable to where we cry out to God, and then he returns as he has promised in the Bible. So just something to think about. The line is drawn in the sand with me about this masks thing. I would do it only if it was very light, like just a quick in and out kind of thing, and that kind of thing. But I'm never gonna wear one for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours throughout the day or anything like that. Like a very, very short period of time, like literally if I had to go like pick something up, or even in that case of ordering something, I didn't really need to kind of do that. Like that's for a few minutes, that's different. Because in a way for me, it's like not that bad because it doesn't hurt me. It could, if I don't want to get germs on other people, and it could protect me slightly, during flu season or something. But in no way would I wear one like regularly in an Uber and Lyft, or wear one while I'm eating and then pull it down and then eat and then pull it back up when I'm leaving the restaurant. Absolutely no way, like 0% chance. So that's just my tolerance for that kind of nonsense. And so, again, I respect people who just will never put one on no matter what. And so, it looks like I won't even be able to. It's not going to be a situation where you can kind of just wear it lightly, like for 30 seconds and then kind of move on. It looks like, this is serious. And so the cool thing is that the Bible prophesies that Christ will return during a relatively calm time. And so, those days of, quote, calmness are running short. I hope that that's very, very obvious to people, because as more and more people wake up, definitely a small group that are aware that this is hell. And then, another group around that, righteous people, principled people, who stick to their values and beliefs, that this is insane for the government to exercise this much control over people when we're getting, rules and regulations fed to us by an animal. Literally, the Bible says, not even an animal, actually, a beast. And so, that's you don't have to be, John the Baptist of righteousness to know that we're not supposed to be taking evil requests from a beast, and then like playing along, like, everything's fine kind of thing, even though that's to some extent what our, government shill leaders in flat earth and certainly in bald earth want us to, and that kind of thing. So just the whole language from the top down is indicative to me that we're living in the last days, because the world is completely unlivable for people who are even mildly righteous. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.